So you should have started by now. Yes, here you are.
Hi. Hello, Nelin. How are you?
Yeah, I'm
¿Cómo está?
fine. I know the process of Zoom meetings. I've used them many, many times, so don't worry.
Ajá.
There's no need to download any app on any phone for that. It simply works. The same thing for Google Meet. You never need to download any app.
Yeah,
Simply,
perfect.
if you
Yeah.
follow the link without downloading anything, you can easily enter. It's not the issue.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Uh, I hope you had a good day, Nelin, and we would just like to inform you that we are recording this meeting, so your video and your audio is being recorded so that we can study
Yes.
whatever insightful things that you say throughout our your interview.
Sure, sure.
Okay.
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 Chayan?
So shall we start?
Yeah, perfect. So,
Okay.
Chayan told me a lot about you, that you came to India, Kolkata, way, way back, and
Oh,
we
yes.
drafted a few questions for you. And um, I mean, first I'll allow you to say something about yourself so that our teachers and our colleagues who see the interview, they know who you are. So just if in a couple of minutes, if you could say a few things about yourself.
So you want me to do that now?
Yeah, why not?
Yep. Please introduce yourself.
So actually, I'm Nelin Mondol. I'm born Belgium, grew up in the Netherlands, studied in. I came in India through
Mm-hmm.
UNESCO CCFS as a member delegate for DCC, Délégation Catholique de la Coopération,
Mm-hmm.
and I think I came as a scientist. I came
Okay.
because of the new AIDS pandemic. It's actually my profession as an immunologist. I
Mm-hmm.
never submitted my thesis because I ultimately married, but I did keep the profession. So originally, I'm a scientist, and specifically in epidemiology, pandemics, and all that. My specific subject was on AIDS. So I never came as an economical migrant or totally came 100% with the benefit of the people whom I target to help and assist.
Mm-hmm.
And when you enter a country, automatically it spreads out, especially with me and generally Belgians. We are kind of an adjustable lot, not only me, not only I, but generally other Belgians too. We end up being completely integrated into the society. And once you integrate totally, all doors open and you end up doing much more widespread activity than the activity for which you came for initially. I came
Mm-hmm.
as a scientist. It's true, I'm still a scientist. In the COVID pandemic, I've been very active, with advice and guidance, guidelines and everything. But at the same time, it's spread enormously to education itself, social work, anything. I mean, heritage, especially. I'm much more known for heritage work and education than my profession as a scientist, and so many more for the Bharatiya Sevak Samaj, which is not Bharatiya Sevak Savashram. It is Bharatiya Sevak Samaj, founded 1952 under planning commission by Jawaharlal Nehru under former guideline by Mahatma Gandhi. So
Mm-hmm.
it's totally different from the Bharatiya Sevak which is a religious organization. So we are totally non-religious based active. Like I'm really a person across all faiths. And for me, actually, there not exist several faiths. For me, it's all one. Like yesterday, I had gone on a long time invitation to the Hooghly Madarsha, and
Mm-hmm.
some people with sensical reaction. So for me, basically, faiths don't exist. They exist formally, but they don't exist. I'm supposedly born Catholic. I'm supposedly now Hindu. I never felt
Mm-hmm.
the difference because there
Yeah,
is no
correct.
difference. So basically, I live life to the Cheyenne has a connection problem. Poor chap. I noticed that
Oh,
you're only two here. So
yeah.
Cheyenne has, there's some problem with someone's connection. Enfin, we are going fine.
Yeah.
And now where was I? Because it said it broke my flow. Yeah, that's
If
yeah.
I can
Was
intervene
Hadi
and yeah, if I can intervene,
if I say
you
me, I was yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
you
Yeah.
mentioned that
Sprechen
you
Sie.
are a
You
scientist,
speak, yeah.
yeah, and
Yes, I'm a scientist. And
you talked about
my connection
COVID.
with India is very, yes.
Do you think this
And my connection with
the
India is very old.
mm-hmm,
Lost in India is this knowledge about incarnation. Actually, the India of the 80s in which I integrated was much poor, of course. There were no facilities. Even I live a very simple life. I don't even have a best basin here. I use buckets. I don't have any modern facilities except sometimes internet and generally light. Other than that, I have no anything modern facilities where people even have in flats. Yeah. But this
mm-hmm,
is not something which matters to me. Material
mm-hmm,
things are just like dust. It really doesn't matter. So I live life to the core. I'm absolutely satisfied with this and pieces. It's not affecting me. So actually, also my connection to India is old. It's not
mm-hmm,
a connection of only this incarnation. It's every incarnation I come to India. So
mm-hmm,
this is totally my home country. I can be born anywhere, anytime, but it's actually completely my home country. And also, I am not Gyan Yogi. I am a Kormo Yogi. Not
mm-hmm,
Kormo Yogi, sorry, I'm Bhakti Yogi. Now, the
mm-hmm,
difference with Gyan Yogis is that they know about what they are. We Bhakti yogis, we don't know. We have to discover in life, in the course of life, that actually we have developed into yogi souls. And I came to India, then I started understanding that there's something unusual that actually I feel like I'm home. I'm not in
mm-hmm.
any different territory or foreign territory. I'm actually right where I should be and where I, in the past, have been. And this is actually correct. It is very new to adjust to. It is something which I'm very accustomed. So it, many Westerners who actually come into India for economical betterment, which is they can do, why not? But these people I have absolutely zero connection with. They live their life in groups among groups of Europeans. They are
Mm-hmm.
not really integrated into Indian society. And quite frankly speaking, I have absolute zero interest in them. I'm not keeping any connection whatsoever with any of them. They stay among themselves, it's their matter. I'm happy here, which is my society. We are Western origin Caucasians, only three exactly, in the entire district Hooghly, which is about 10 million inhabitants. So that makes us about one Caucasian origin resident in 3.5 million.
Mm-hmm.
So that is really like, we are completely in a mass of completely Indian by birth. And there is no question of us clubbing us together among three to make a kind of a mini Europe or something. The
Mm-hmm.
contrast is remarkable with the fact that District Hooghly is very famous for having been a hub of many Western countries due to the location and so many better conditions also for ship faring and all that. So I'm extremely active in all these matters of history and heritage also Also, as an artist, I made a huge work in batik, 180 square foot, on the history of Hooghly before the railway lines came in and made Calcutta more prominent. That is when Hooghly district became more like a suburb. So actually, there is a contrast with the history of District Hooghly and the very fact that they simply accept us two, not a single European here anymore. So this is a bit remarkable and it's quite interesting. So I'm kind of alone in charge of, being one kind of a cultural ambassador too. The connection between the history and heritage here and with those abroad who are interested to know. Added the fact that my in-laws' house is, well, a breaking down palace. They were very great in history. The room in which I am right now speaking to you is actually the room where Anthony Feringhi used to sing to fame. So it's also a very historical room. So if I would have to exchange this for a nice flat with all the modern comforts, I say no, thank you. I'm more happy here with the walls speaking of their history, with the walls speaking of what they have seen. I'm much more happy without any comfort in my old house than I would be, in such a flat without any history whatsoever.
Yeah.
So that's in a gist.
If I
Even
may
my
ask
own
something to
family,
you
I
here.
myself, yeah.
So like you
Go ahead.
said,
I myself very big old house. Just 1 minute. Ami Porizatsi, act interview Chelsea. Ami Porizatsi, vous êtes pas chaud? Okay. I have to cover the flowers in the garden against thieves, as usual. So tell me.
So
yes, I have to do that because at 3 o'clock you come and steal everything. Tell me.
I wanted to ask, there are a lot of people from the West come here into India for a spiritual journey. They want to look inside themselves, and it's like an intrinsic reflection that they come here for. I want to ask, when they come with this purpose of intrinsic reflection, self-reflection, do they affect the outside society? Like you have come, you must have had a lot of time for self-reflection and realizing things about yourself. But what about the outside? How do you affect other lives? And like you said, you live with people who were born here and historically are here. How does your behavior and
I
your thinking
told
affect
you
that?
later interview Chelsea. Sorry. I told you later interview Chelsea. Jabo Pore. Okay, sorry. No, I am inspiration to people, but I wonder how much I really affect or cause any change. I know that many people take me as one kind of example, one kind of a guideline, but how much does that in reality affect their life? How much does this inspiration reality change anything to who they are, what they are, how they live? Maybe it's one kind of a modesty. I don't even think it's modesty. I think it's reality. That I don't think that I really, as one person, can, how to say, affect life spiritually just by being an example. I can affect, of course, someone if I help them in any way to improve their life conditions. And also another thing is that I came totally on my mission. And then I discovered that I have a deeper fulfillment here and a different, deeper role. But those who specifically come for the spiritual matter, their intentions are very, very good. And no doubt they are very good intentions. But I think that many they fall kind of in the trap of, people who misuse it for business purpose, like all these ashram where you pay to stay and afterwards, how much is it gimmick and how much is it reality? Like with their spas and their musics and this and that. I always wonder how much, reality genuinity is in that. I do know that I live not far from Moyopur. It's a youth center. I do think that there really should be some genuine matter in it, but over the years, with commercialization of society, I've seen Moyopur before even the big temples were built. I've seen the Moyopur in 1988, where there was just a very kind of a basic type of staying facility and the first old temple. And that's the Moyopur I have seen. It was before the construction of one big temple, then another one, biggest in the world temple. This is not the kind of things which I find spirituality in. So commercialization has stepped in. So all these foreigners who stay there, how much they get of the real thing, the oldest residents will have huts, but later comers, I doubt. And another thing is that this is a society living completely on its own, disconnected from mainstream society. So you don't really learn India unless you live the normal Indian life. If you want to learn from India, experience India, and go deeper, you have to live the normal life. People like myself, I tried to connect Vasudeva Das and Hemley Gonzalez, but they are not yet responding. I have a few more in mind, but they are not just responding. These are people like me who live the actual normal life. We contribute, we work, we are active, but we live the completely normal circumstances. So we learn the actual India. If you learn a place, then you can only contribute to a place because you have to know the reality of the way, the mode of living, the mode of thinking, the mode of communicating. So then only can you be efficient. So those people who live in a cocoon like Mayapur, it's no doubt nice, but that's it. And even for the children who live there, I wonder how much it's good because they will have had a very nice childhood full of singing and dancing, but they will not have learned how to deal with the hard outside world. So I think they later might be handicapped. They will have to simply stay in that life because they can't handle the normal outside life. They haven't learned the tools to use it, to handle it. So then again, I'm much better off here handling the normal workload of the normal people than being some kind of ashram. So, but
Griha as an ashram, you see household work as an ashramic work, grihasthashram, I guess.
Oh yes, of course. I'm a house monk.
Yes.
Domestic monk.
Domestic monk. We are all. Okay. My question to you is, did you face any kind of restriction, forced opinion on you, or incident of racism in India?
Enormous first opinions, enormous restrictions. And also I several years had to prove myself that I'm able to lead the normal life and adjust. There was enormous suspicion also about my social work. What's the matter behind it? Enormous. And also trying enormous. I have the very severe mother-in-law. So whatever she said, and she didn't know much anything because she was not at all educated. So anyway, her knowledge, even in science, was better than mine, this kind of things. So I faced it enormously. And that is the hardest part to adjust when you are supposed to shut down your intelligence and simply obey the orders of someone who actually knows much less than you yourself do. So this is I faced enormously. And you can, of course, say it's not racism about the color of the skin, but it is racism in the sense of provenance and origin. Like, okay, a foreigner, like, okay, Pratame Bolto, she will not be able to stay for 2 days, then she'll not able to adjust, and she'll not be able to learn, and she'll not be able to think, and there's so many kind of pseudotypes and stereotypes. Yes. But it's also, I can't blame people for that because remember, there has been here the hippie movement. Now, the hippie movement, the first hippies, they were actually really kind of a monks. But later there was this kind of huge flow of hippies who simply were there to smoke, here to smoke a joint and, like one kind of a sham world.
Yes.
So they have seen all these hippies and it gave a very bad impression about Westerners. So I can't even blame the people here. Now it's exactly the opposite. By seeing me, people say, oh my God, it's actually possible for foreigners to integrate. So due to me, others will have had it easier because I showed people here that it's actually possible, that it is possible. But then again, I know I'm an exception, very few can stay. But then again, I'm different because my soul belongs here. So it's quite complex, everything. At the same time, it's very simple and basic. It's both complex and basic at the same time.
Like you said, initially when the hippies, so-called hippies came, they came with a good purpose and good intent. But when that got commercialized or got popular, a lot of people came with different intents, which were not spiritual, so to say. So would you
Yeah,
say that when
plain
people
fun,
migrate in,
plain fun, free tourism.
yeah, when people migrate in small groups,
Yes, sorry. Go on.
when people migrate in small groups, do you think when that number increases, the purpose gets lost? When a lot of migration happens and when there is a huge influx, does the purpose get lost somewhere?
Absolutely, of course. It becomes like aping of others and a big mela of fun. It's like this entire flower power movement in the 60s. It started very nicely with a lot of philosophy and back thinking, but later it became all about music and joints and concerts. And now we mainly remember it as Woodstock, but
Yeah,
Yes.
there
Woodstock.
was much more behind it. So
Woodstock Festival.
it's
Yes.
the same thing like it's the same like I said earlier about Moyopo. Of course, the first ones who came, it was very deep, but you have more and more coming. It becomes more and more superficial. So the ones who are very serious, they end up dissociating themselves and go somewhere, stay in the mountains and all that, but on their own, out of groups. Because you need quiet, peace, and solitude to be with your own thoughts if you actually want to develop deeper. You're not going to develop if you the whole day spend singing and dancing and saying Hare Krishna and drawing chakras. And this is not the way you're going to develop. You need your solitude. You
Yes.
need your own thoughts. You don't need, not by following a group of singing masses.
Definitely. That is absolutely what you said. It is true. The inner conscience, the inner knowledge, the depth of the knowledge comes from our normal daily life, not from a not from singing masses and prayers. Yes,
It's
you
the
are
same thing for
absolutely.
academics. You have the armchair academician and you have the person who learns by experience. I'm a
Yes.
scientist, so of course we learn by experience. The armchair academician is really not my kind of thing. I mean, they will develop the most fantastic theorems and well,
Yes. Well, theories are there, and theories are made at theories and debunked. And we have seen theories going down. My question to you is, mm, what aspects of Indian socio-cultural areas you think that could be a little bit better? You have.
oh, still casteism is huge.
Yes.
In Bengali, it's quite better. Bengalis always have been pretty much comparatively a non-casteist lot. I know that Rabindranath Tagore has had a big influence on that too, on the Indian masses, but not only who, Ram Mohan Roy and so many luminaries. So it's not only a fact that a big group of legendary social reformers have influenced Bengalis, it's also the fact that the Bengalis have it inside them because the very fact that a big group of social reformers were from Bengal means that it's in the Bengali blood. So it's vice versa. They reform the Bengalis, but anyway, the Bengalis are what they are, so that's why these people are Bengali in the first place. like Vivekananda, Aurobindo, and name it. I mean, it's amazing. And of course, a big group of them originally from Bangladesh. And
Yes.
so this is never to forget the huge contribution of Bangladesh in the
Definitely.
even freedom movement. Can you make it a little bit? So the huge contribution in the freedom movement of Bangladesh too. So actually, you could say in 71 they got their reward by this time India helping them to free themselves from Pakistan. So actually, where were we? Yes, I mean this casteism, of course, and also the economical discrepancies, which is very much the case, by the way, in Europe too, and of course much more in America. I mean, of course, specifically Indian problem, I should say casteism. It's still very much ingrained. That is something which has to change dramatically. Women, the position of women is gradually better. I have to say that it's gradually bettering. And of course, this is not a specific Indian problem. If we look at specifically Indian problem, I repeat again, casteism.
Mm-hmm.
Ignorance. People are pushed into ignorance. So they don't know many things.
Definitely.
Like, for example, so many villagers living in villages. There are so many plants there which are so healthy to eat for health and nutrition both. They are all around them, but they just don't know. So they don't eat them. So
Right.
if education has to improve a lot.
You talked about integration into the society, and you said that when you first came to India, you felt as if you were always here, and you've been here in past. So
Yes.
do you feel this question of identification? Do you identify as something? Because these days people feel the need to identify. So do you identify as an Indian? Do you identify as a European? Or you feel that there is no
I
reason or no
identify as a person of the world because I've had too much international life from childhood. And this is really thanks to my parents. I'm very grateful for that. And later I pursued the same line. From 18 again, I myself moved to the United States. I myself moved to India. But I'm extremely grateful for the childhood I had. Like even my parents, due to my father's work, I've been many times in East Europe, even before the Iron Curtain fell. So I actually know and have seen and experienced what was Eastern Europe. We could forget about speaking aloud. It's proverbially we even were afraid to think aloud. You could never trust who you're speaking to. It can be a person of the secret services. I've seen people shot in front of my eyes for trying to cross the border. So I've seen all that in childhood, and I say this is excellent because I always knew from very small that this Western life, like Western Europe, is a nice cocoon for some people, but it's not the way people generally live. So I'm extremely grateful for that. And also due to this, I don't need to identify anything specifically because I'm habituated in childhood to move, change, change city, change language, change country, and it's excellent. It's like the children here of India, children of military parents, for example, you move every 2 years all through India. It's absolutely excellent, such childhood, because you learn to always adjust, always learn new. You know that nothing is ever taken for granted. It's fabulous. It's really excellent. And due to this, we do not need to identify to any place specifically. It so happens that, yes, I'm always come to India every incarnation. So automatically, I identify with the whole of India. My soul connects with the soul of India. So it goes much deeper than any identification specifically. I'm immersed in the culture because it just belongs to me and I belong to it. So it's the core of my existence, mixes very well with the core of the existence of India. So it's much deeper than any kind of identification. My whole identity is India. So, and it's something which is automatic without any need to specifically feel it. It's all automatic.
Thank you so much. That was very insightful. Jayan, you have another question? We have about 10 minutes left.
A small question, not a biggie, it's a small one. Nelin, can you tell me about the place you are currently residing? How is the place?
This is amazing thing. The place I am born in about the best place you can imagine in Europe. Actually, Leuven is the very place from which so many Belgian missionaries, fathers, have spread all over the world to do fantastic missionary work, integrating the villages, the cultures, learning the tribal languages, and of course, without any idea whatsoever of this nonsense called conversion. Nothing of all that. No money, no nothing, no program or agenda, nothing. Not only that, from all over Europe, so many fathers, missionaries come actually to be trained in Leuven before they are sent all over. There is something in that city. There's something about Leuven. It's also the place where Erasmus used to write all his philosophies. I mean, there's something about Leuven, there's something in the air, there's something in the soil. It's quite an extraordinary place. It used to be once upon a time also a papal site where there were 3 popes in that time. So it is absolutely extraordinary place. There again, I have a huge luck that I'm born in such a place. And though I do not miss it, because missing a place is totally as per your own self. If you decide to miss a place, you'll miss it. And if you decide you're quite happy not missing it, you just won't miss it. That's how I easily didn't go to Europe for 24 years. And I could easily have gone more, not 20 years. So this is entirely your choice. You miss it or you don't miss it. You're sad or you're happy. It's all your own control. But definitely when I'm in Leuven, I'm kind of proud and happy that I have been born in such a city and that my family has chosen that city generations ago for their main residence. This huge property we have overlooking the cathedral and old Leuven and my ancestry also, because I have some aristocracy which fled France during the revolution. So all this, I'm of course very grateful for the background. I'm very grateful for the family I'm born. And at the same time, I'm very modest about it. Like I never show it off to people. Look, I'm such and such family. Most people here don't even know anything. When it comes out in the subject, it comes out. Otherwise, people don't even know.
Yeah.
So it's not about the big family you're born. It is what you make of yourself.
Right.
And,
So, but yes,
what
I'm
about-
extremely grateful. Tell me.
Sorry to interrupt. What about the current place? The place you are living
Chandanagar.
now?
My God, there were
Chandanagar,
many.
yes.
What can be said about Chandanagar? I mean, books can be written about it. And not only Chandanagar. Yesterday I was again in Chinsura. It is epic and famous Hooghly Madarsha. It's the entire district Hooghly. It's an epic. And of course, I've been many years pushing and helping that this should be world famous, this district. And every time I'm pushing and but always using my being some kind of a public figure to literally make the advertisement, you could say, publicity of District Hooghly. It is little Europe on the Ganges. I mean, nowhere on the planet you find such a place where you had so many countries in one territory. It's unique. You go search the whole globe, you won't find like that. So it's extremely unique, and it's districts counting massive heritage spots. I mean, my God, if someone wants to really visit District Hooghly properly, they need like a month or something. I mean, it's so packed. It's so extremely packed. I mean, oof, and if like me, you cycle everywhere and you know all the alleys and all the streets and all the narrow by lanes, then you know everything what is there to see. What even local inhabitants often asking me, where is this? Well, where this is your own town. Oh, really? Well, yes, really, you know. So they don't know because they simply don't go beyond certain places. So I'm extremely happy and impressed. And then, of course, as I already said, like now I'm sitting in a room, which was the whole drawer, where Anthony Fring is sang to fame. I mean, I'm sitting right now on a very historical spot at the very place where he used to sing to fame. So, I mean, what can be better than that in terms of history and heritage?
Yeah.
As I said,
Absolutely.
I would never change that for a flat or house with all the modern facilities. I don't need a washing machine and I don't need an oven and I don't need a microwave. And even I don't have a basin, I use buckets. Who cares? I don't need all that luxury. I'm much better inside the heritage. I'm much better inside the history
Yeah.
than living somewhere with all modern facilities.
So Nelin, now
I'm
if I
happy
may
with
call
my
you that,
site.
we are just like we have a few minutes left. I just wanted to know that you have come here with such a positive and great intent. Do you wish that other people from Europe come and what do you think if people similar to your ethnicity with good intentions come to India, what small changes can be there in the society?
Oh, I think that everyone can produce any kind of change, even if it's changing the perception, breaking boundaries. Like, for example, seeing me, people have in their mind often broken boundaries. I'm Saturn as example. So you see, it's possible for them to live like us. So, like, and I broke some kind of stereotypes. Even that, if that can happen, it's great. I mean, every stone counts.
Yeah.
All stones together build a wall, all drops form an ocean. Someone will give a bucket, someone else will give a drop. It doesn't matter, but of course, it's always a positive thing.
Right. So, I mean, it's a shame that we only have a minute, but it was amazing talking to you, and I wish if you ever have time again, we would love to ask you more questions and know more about how you think, because it's been so enlightening for both of us, and I'm sure our colleagues and our teachers at Deutsche Welle, when they watch this, they'll be delighted as well. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Nelin. You actually responded in a very short time. We didn't have a very long waiting period or a preparation time. In a very short time, you responded so well, and thank you very much. I'm glad that I contacted with you.
Actually, I didn't need to prepare. I didn't ever prepare anything. My life with the villagers, without electricity and everything, that prepared me. My journeys through the, rural landscape where there's not even a tap or no electricity, no roads, that prepared it literally. All the years here prepared it. I never needed to prepare anything. My life prepared it.
That's the charm. That's the charm. Definitely, when I'll be back in Kolkata, I'll definitely try to visit you in Chandannagar in person. Definitely.
I'll join.
Sicher.
I come
Guten
from
Tag.
Odisha.
Sure.
That is like a neighbor state of yours.
Yes, of course. Been many times, countless times.
Yeah.
Actually in Baripada, but that was before this
Oh,
disaster.
that's where my mother is from, Baripada. Yeah.
But we used to go countless times, but then my son stopped going because the children who were murdered burnt with their father. These were my son's friends.
Father
So
Graham
for
Stains,
them,
right?
stopped going.
I presume it's from Father Graham Stains we're talking about.
Yes, Father Graham Stains. And his two sons were my son's friends.
Oh.
So that was
my
very
goodness.
terrible.
That's horrible to hear.
That
we end on such
incident
a
is
sad note.
big.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's life.
Still, are used